Welcome back to Mirror Readings. I'm Molly. Oh, look, Rex is here. Today we're talking about Gene Key 58, which has the shadow of dissatisfaction, the gift of vitality, and the city of bliss. Okay, enough already. So in this moment, I am actively dissatisfied that I have wet hair and that Rex just crashed the video. But if I've learned anything about this 58th shadow, it's that dissatisfaction blocks vitality. Dissatisfaction implies a deep mistrust in life. And if you've been reading the Gene Keys for a while, you know that trusting in life is baseline to accessing our gifts. Richard Rudd says that this shadow of dissatisfaction acts as a propulsion system. It pushes us forward. That nagging, gnawing feeling of dissatisfaction, you know it when you feel it. It makes us want to change things and it gives us the energy to do so. And also, dissatisfaction is such like a universal experience. All of us know what it feels like. And also it's just inherently dissatisfying to be an infinite being, right? A soul in this limited 3D body. It's like in many ways kind of a drag, even though it's what we came here for. Dissatisfaction turns us into seekers. And by the way, if you're on my channel, if you are studying the Gene Keys, you're a seeker. And seeking can be both destructive and constructive depending on whether it's conscious or unconscious. So we want to become conscious seekers. We want to know what we're seeking and why. At least having some notion of it keeps us from just seeking for the sake of trying to escape pain. It makes seeking not another distraction, but that propulsion system, like Richard Rudd said, that's moving us towards things that bring us vitality. Here's a crazy feature of this 58th shadow. We can actually get addicted to being dissatisfied. So dissatisfaction becomes our on-ramp to satisfaction. I'm sure you've met people who are like that, right? They seem to just love hating things and complaining seems to be their source of vitality. This is a very warped distortion of this shadow, but it can happen. This is actually the only shadow that cannot be repressed. Like us humans, when we're dissatisfied, usually we have a pretty hard time hiding it. And even if we're trying to repress it, it actually is going to come out no matter what. So it becomes reactive. So every shadow has a repressed expression and a reactive expression. So the reactive expression for 58 is, interfering. It means you're so dissatisfied that you want to interfere with everything, get up in everyone else's shit to try to make that feeling go away. And of course, it never works. Like, even if we get momentary relief by engaging in some type of interference, that satisfaction never lasts. And ultimately, we have to get our heart broken over and over and over again to get out of this shadow of dissatisfaction. It sucks. One of my closest friends has this 3 times in their Gene Key profile. And something I've noticed is that their dissatisfaction feels very potent. People feel it deeply and they take it personally. So this to me is just an indicator that if we have keys multiple times in our profile, it's a big part of our karma and it's something to look out for. But just be mindful that those shadows, those gifts, those cities, people feel them more deeply because they're more amplified in our profile. And what happens when we get our heart broken so many times that we just throw up our hands? We become these kind of blank vessels for higher intelligence. We often give up and say, okay, God, the universe, life, whatever, just tell me what to do. And that brings us into the gift of vitality. The full energy of our being can run. Once we've surrendered our personal agenda, our egos, our fears, we just kind of melt into service and love. And then we have ongoing access to this divine vitality. Love increases vitality. And if you've been paying attention to what the rules are of this plane of duality that we live in, it seems like the highs are as high as the lows. It seems like the amount that we lose love equates to how much we're able to love. Now, I believe that we're moving beyond this 3D plane of duality into a more integrated, unified, higher dimensional reality, but we got to still play the rules of the game that we came into. And that means that we have to be able to use loss as a heart opener and an on-ramp to loving more and thus accessing more vitality. This gift of vitality, true satisfaction with life on life's terms, there it is, allows us to appreciate loss. It allows us to appreciate our pain as a way to let more love in and to give more love. Ugh, it's such a paradox, but deep down, I know it's true. And one more thing on the 58th gift, I'm going to read it real quick. We can appreciate at least the function of loss in our evolving consciousness towards vitality embodied in love and service as we meet life wholeheartedly. We must learn to let life cut us and bow to our suffering. There is no love and joy without fear and loss here in this plane of duality. Ugh. I mean, I know it's true. Do you know it's true? Even in the best of times, loss gives life this deeply melancholy flavor, but the city of bliss just blasts right through it. Bliss is the antithesis in many ways of satisfaction or dissatisfaction. It kind of exists at this meta layer above duality because there is no good or bad. There's no value judgment. There's just the bliss of pure being. Whatever is happening, just the experience is enough to tickle our soul's fancy and make this whole human experience worthwhile. Richard Rudd recommends memorizing the feeling of bliss and calling it up whenever we feel dissatisfied. Think about that. The shadow and the city are always like, the city is a block between the shadow and the gift when it's not fully realized. So when we're in that shadow of dissatisfaction, we can't even imagine bliss, and our inability to conceive of it based on our current, like, very dissatisfying circumstances makes it a block. But we have to memorize the feeling of bliss, no matter how momentary, and be able to bring it into those moments of dissatisfaction so that we know there's a way out. And instantly we're able to trick our bodies, right? Through the chemicals our brain produces